I feel so sorry. I feel so much for the people of Kurdistan. I really do, because you guys always bear so much of the brunt of all this nonsense. No, but you always end up helping the people, taking them in, giving them refuge, giving them food. You do everything you can. They stab you in the back. Hundreds of miles of border between you, right? And the global community's lack of, kind of strategy or efficiency or, like Mr. Bush. It's like I heard someone say it's like going to the theater and clapping with one hand. It's like, how can you do that? Maybe this, maybe that, could do this, maybe this. Meanwhile, meanwhile, we're making the America great again. I don't think so. I think what's happening is we're making Kurdistan great again because Kurdistan probably, if I'm guessing, already has people coming across border for refuge, for peace. And Mr. Netanyahu is worried about his son's wedding. That was how these wars are. Yeah. Just look at his face. It's like a pathology. Weapons dealers selling China. It's just been reported. I won't mention it because I haven't been able to verify it. But several Chinese cargo planes just flew under radar uh, into. Well, thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you, Kak Mohammed, for your welcome and for inviting me to join you tonight. It's an honor to be here. I have great love for Kurdistan and the people of Kurdistan, so it's always a pleasure to be here. I think we're witnessing a very dangerous new chapter in the Middle East geopolitic. What was once a shadow conflict is now, up in the open, and the escalation threatens certainly bilateral security, but also the broader regional balance. I think that it's very important for the United States to lean in here. The time for indecisiveness from our leaders in Washington is clearly over. I think the talk from our European colleagues and other colleagues in the Gulf says that this escalation needs to stop, and the United States is among the few that can make that happen. So I hope and pray for the people of Kurdistan, for the people of the broader region, and for all of us around the world that we can get this under control as soon as possible. I think that the current president of the United States, really views himself as an anti-war president. I think that now the proof is in the pudding, as we say in the United States. It's time for him to act and show that he can lead the world in this way. I just will wait and see, along with others. I think what we have to think about is the women and children who are already suffering from the new war that has broken out. The fact that Kurdistan has always been there for struggling and suffering people and always will. I think that there needs to be compensation for that. This cannot go on without making sure that innocent people are protected and that countries like Kurdistan are given the resources that will be required so that these people can be cared for properly. I think that the Israelis are going to be hard to stop, but it's the longer the world allows Israel to do this, the more inevitable it becomes that this conflict will escalate. I think it's time for diplomacy to work and to be given a chance to work. Well, I think the groundwork is there. I think our colleagues in the Gulf, our colleagues in Europe, see the severity of this this conflict escalating regionally or even between the two, warring parties. I think it's time for us to realize that these war games are, affect people in real ways. They displace children, they separate children from their parents, it creates orphans, it creates suffering mothers who've lost their children and their husbands and husbands who've lost their families. It's time for diplomacy to work because war has not worked at all anywhere in the world, and especially in the Middle East. I mean, we're still, rebuilding from, the wars of the past. And so much has been accomplished. And if this thing goes where it appears to be going or where it could go, we'll be back 2 steps again. So I think it's time for us to put our big boy pants on in the United States and really show our leadership. And if our president really considers himself to be an anti-war president, this is a time for him to shine. Well, I think that the European powers are having their own debate right now on whether or not diplomacy still can work. Again, I heard another pundit saying, what's going on, what Israel is doing is clapping with one hand. It needs the United States to clap with the other. We need bunker busting capabilities to be able to shut down completely these nuclear sites and so forth, as you know. But I think the bigger question is when will the president of the United States do something other than make, big, bold statements about what a tough guy he is and how he's going to save the world from war? It's time for him to step up. It's time for him to show that he is a leader of the world. And I'm hoping and praying that he will do that. Do I think that'll happen? I don't even know if it matters what I think what'll happen. What I pray that will happen is that the President of the United States will more effectively collaborate with partners in Europe, partners in the Gulf, partners in the Middle East, with Iraq and other partners there to avoid further catastrophe, further destruction, further death, further suffering. And that is what I pray for and what I hope we all pray for. Well, this president likes to think of himself as the artist of the deal. And, he wrote the book, or he helped write the book, The Art of the Deal. And I've read that book, and he likes to think of himself as a deal maker. So right now, we need a deal maker, and we need a deal maker in chief. We need someone that can talk us off this ledge, broadening this conflict, escalating it across the region, is very, very dangerous. Most reasonable people and the majority of people believe that. People who know what they're talking about believe that. I believe that. And I believe that it's time for us to de-escalate this, to ask the Israelis to calm down. And I would use other words if I wasn't on the air right now. But I think it's very important for this president to understand that so many people, so many thousands of innocent people depend on him right now, and his legacy is at stake during this next 2 weeks. Well, I think that the Iranians have signaled that they want to negotiate, but I think the further we push, the further we engage in a military sense, the more the Iranian people are going to side with their government, and they're going to want to be protected by their government. The majority of Iranian people are peaceful, loving people. They have so much in common with the rest of us that we're more the same than we are different. And I think it's time for us to acknowledge that and find a way to peace. And I think that our government, my government, the President of the United States and his colleagues are in a very, very unique and strategic position to accomplish that. Well, the President of the United States should be the negotiator in chief. He should talk people to a more sensible place. He should acknowledge the fact that, you know, escalating this war to another regional war makes absolutely no sense at all. Nobody wants that. The Iranians don't want that. Even the Israelis don't want that. The Iranians are running out of missiles and hardware. Today it was rumored that cargo ships from China were flying below radar. Who knows what they're bringing in? So it's time for the president to stop, scratching his head and wondering what he should do and start doing something. And that is very, very important at this moment in history. Look, I don't want to sound negative, but I will say that this is the same president that said he would negotiate an end of the war between Russia and Ukraine in one day. And it's now been months, and it's only gotten worse. This is the same president that wants to think that the good guys are the bad guys, and the bad guys are the good guys, and he gets it mixed up. So I think it's time for him to get this straight, that the role that the United States can play uh, will will be consistent with his desire to be the peacemaker in chief. That's what we need from Mr. Trump at this time. We need to talk the warring parties down and save people's lives. I don't believe so. I think what it can do is it can just make people angrier and angrier with the Israelis, for that matter, with the rest of the world. It can make them deeper enemies of the United States. It can kill and maim many, many people, as it already has. It can drive maybe thousands or more to seek refuge in places like Kurdistan and other places in the region. It can create further instability and heartbreak than we already have seen, and that is unacceptable. And my government needs to engage in a way that will prevent those things from happening. And I believe they can if they want to do that.